Hey everybody, happy Torch Thursday. Welcome to the Beading Dreams Torch Thursday stream. So today we are going to talk about the yes, setting stuff, and we're going to melt stuff tonight too, Mary. We're going to talk about the very unscientific process of soldering on coins. So this is our project for today, which is soldering loops onto coins to make pendants, charms, whatever you want. And this is a great thing to do if you bought back coins from a trip as a souvenir or something of that nature. Oh wow, that's really unattractive what I just did there. So anyway. But here's the thing you need to know about soldering onto coins. Like, unless you know the exact metal content of your coin, and I'm sorry, I still have like poof hair. I'm gonna go get a moisturizing mask tonight and see if I can de-poof my head a bit. But the thing you need to be aware of when you're soldering on coins or when you're heating coins at all is that, you know, unless you know exactly the metal content, you have no idea what's going to happen. Case in point, the United States penny, okay? United States pennies are no longer made from copper because at some point the actual value of this amount of copper escalated to more than 1 US cent. So it's like in 1985, or hi Corvus, 85, 83, something like that. So any penny, United States penny that you get that was minted after that certain year, it was sometime in the 80s, it's not copper, it's copper plated zinc. This is important because zinc has a very low melting temperature, which I will demonstrate for you in a minute. I also have some other coins that I'm fairly confident about. I've got a 1p coin from 1998 from Ireland, and actually this is one of my faves. I love the Irish coins because they're just so pretty. Like the designs on them are just lovely. So I've got 1982. Thank you, Mary the Librarian. So yes, they were 95% copper as of 1982. Post 1982. What is the percentage of copper now? It's got to be like 0.01% or something ridiculous like that. Because yeah, it's at some point the penny became worth more than a penny just because of the metal content of it. So we'll see if the 1p coins from Ireland are the same, because this is a fairly recent one. Like I said, this one is 1998, but it's got this really pretty bird design on it. So we're gonna try that one. And then I have, where are you from? This is a yuan, so this is going to be, I believe, from China. And also very pretty. It's got this pretty, I think that might actually be a protea on there. So pretty flower design on there. And we have our US penny, which is going to be our sacrificial lamb tonight, and that's a 2020 US penny. So we know this is not copper. I'm going to show you what happens when you try and solder on that. And then my last one is 10 cents from Jamaica. Yes. So currently, thank you again, Mary. So this penny, this 2020 penny, is 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper. So yeah, again, we're going to see what happens to that when we put a flame to it. It's going to be exciting. I also have, in addition to all of my varied coins, I do have some easy sterling silver solder here. That's what I'm going to use to solder my rings on. I have my rings. I am using sterling silver rings to solder onto my coins regardless of the color of the coins themselves. In my experience, that's what works best. Of course, I also have all of my soldering tools. Yes, I do. Okay. Including but not limited to my torch, my soldering surfaces, which you saw a minute ago, flux. I'll talk about what that is and what it does when it's time to use it, and a brush with which to apply the flux. which is there. Tweezers for picking up hot things and also holding rings whilst I am positioning them. Cutters of some sort to cut my solder. So I just have a basic pair of wire cutters there. And then one could pickle these when one was done with them and then buff them with steel wool. I'm just going to wind up throwing them in the tumbler. It's just so much easier to do it that way if you have a tumbler. If you don't have a tumbler, we'll talk about pickle, how that works, and how you would finish if you didn't have a tumbler once I've actually accomplished this soldering task. So yes. And I actually, my mom has some steel pennies because copper was in demand for some, it was in limited supply because of some reason regarding the war. So yeah, steel pennies were a thing, and I don't have one. My mother, they were in my great-great-grandmother's coin collection. My mother stole all of the steel pennies, took them, not let me have one. I was lucky enough to get, and I sold it, and it's one of those things to this day that I kind of regret, because I was actually lucky enough, a client gave me a mercury dime just as a payment, like a regular dime, and this was years ago, and so it was in pretty bad shape, so I plucked it from the cash drawer, I drilled a hole in it, and hung it on my bracelet, and I wound up selling it to somebody for like $25 or $30, so I mean, that's a pretty good return on investment for a dime. But I do miss it. I miss my mercury dime. I even still have the ring that it used to hang from still on my bracelet right there. I don't know what pesos are made of, Corvus, but you know what? I bet Mary could find out. Spaghetti and meatballs. I'm surprised you didn't say Franks and beans. Shaquille, hi. What's for dinner right now is fire and coins. This is a torch stream, and we're going to be soldering loops onto coins. So, according to Mary, the research superwoman, pesos are 65% copper, 10% nickel, and 25% zinc. So, I'm pretty sure that will be solderable. And that's a 20-cent peso. It's just when you're like with the US pennies where it's like almost 100% zinc that bad things happen. So let's just try to solder a ring onto my US penny. So I've got my US penny. I'm going to set it right there. And I've got a ring. So I'm using soldered rings. That's just kind of a little cheater method there because you could absolutely use jump rings. If you're using a jump ring rather than a soldered ring, what you want to do is you want to put the joint of the jump ring against your coin so that you are both soldering your jump ring closed and soldering your jump ring to your coin at the same time. And you know what? Actually, I want to preserve that for one of my other coins. So I'm going to do exactly that because I have this sterling silver jump ring that I made for something. Don't remember what. Seriously, Corvus, research is her superpower. And also, I have the stream sniffles. So annoying. Okay, so I'm going to use this jump ring that I made. Because this whole thing, I mean, hashtag spoiler alert, this whole thing is just going to turn into a blob of awful. Alright, so I'm going to take my jump ring and I'm going to place it like I just recommended with the joint against my coin, like so. And I'm going to take my flux. So flux, for anybody who hasn't been on Torch Stream in a while, is a chemical, and mine is borax based. That's what most jewelers use, but not all jewelers. But what the flux does is it keeps your metal from oxidizing so that your solder will flow. So I'm going to flux the area where I'm going to be soldering. Ooh, that's awesome, Corvus. I also have some older... No, I like a horse made of pesos. I think that would be really fun. One of my coolest pictures from Tucson, which I don't know that I actually ever posted, but there was an artist there who was exhibiting who did found object art. Also, by the way, there's little Mimi giving me stink face because I dared to tuck her in this morning because I thought she might be cold. She was not a fan of the tucking in. Carol, I didn't show you this, did I? No. I'm sorry. Be right back, stream. Like, how dare you mess with my space? She's so tiny. She's so bitty. Like, I get concerned when it's, and I keep it kind of chilly in my house because I'm freaking cheap. Y'all, I am very cheap. And so I get worried because she's only like this big and I get worried that she's going to get cold. So I tucked her, she curled up, I tucked her in. And once again, she was not amused. But one of my coolest photos from Tucson that I haven't posted yet, it may wind up in a future reel, was this artist who makes these giant sculptures out of found objects. So this is a maybe larger than life gorilla made entirely of spark plugs. Well, not the face, obviously, but like the rest of it is, yeah, it's all made from spark plugs. It's really cool. He had all kinds of cool stuff. I don't know why my camera will not focus on that, but I'll have to post that in Discord. But yeah, so very, very cool. So anyway, all right, so we're gonna start with this American penny, and we're gonna see what happens when I try and solder onto this. So I have my easy sterling silver solder. I'm gonna cut myself a small piece off of it, and then I'm gonna place that piece on top of my joint. Wow, these tweezers are awful. Tweezers that don't pick up anything, super not useful. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to drop that right on the joint. So the goal here is to solder this jump ring closed and solder it onto the penny. So let's see how this goes. Take my torch. Don't forget, if you're rusty on your soldering, don't forget you can type !S safety into the Twitch chat. You can get the link that way to my 5-point basic soldering safety lecture. As always, I am not an expert on safety. I've been teaching this for a long time, so I do have a little bit of, knowledge and safety under my belt, but if you're going to do this in your own home, I would strongly advise you to consult an actual safety professional. But the 5-point soldering lecture is, just a little way to start on that. Yeah, what's about to happen to this penny Corvus, that's how I feel about 2020. So I'm going to light my torch. So theoretically, all I have to do is heat this whole thing. The solder should flow and join the ring to the penny. So I'm just going to heat. Oh, don't tell me it's actually going to work. Nope. There we go. Look. Oh, Abe, it's so sad. No, you're dead now. I'm so sorry, Abraham Lincoln. I have murdered you. So yeah, and look, it's still liquidy. It's still liquid zinc. It's jiggly. And it's made a jiggly mess on my soldering board. So so yeah. So American pennies, pre-1982, awesome. Post-1982, don't even bother, because there's no way that you're going to be able to get that hot enough for solder to flow without, as I did here, melting the penny. And once again, I did know that was going to happen. Like, this was not a surprise to me. It was a surprise to me the first time I tried it, but and yeah, now I just have all of this stupid zinc on my soldering board that I need to figure out what to do with, and on my tweezers. What the heck? So now let's actually deal with some coins that I think will work. For oh, poor Penny, look at that, it's so sad. It's just so sad and destroyed. So let's try some things that I think will work. So we're going to start with this 10 cents from Jamaica. All right, so I'm going to set that there. Now don't forget, your soldering board's going to be a little hot after melting that penny, so you know, don't spend too much time touching it. Also, that metal that's stuck on my tweezers is hot. Ouch. Okay, there. Right? Seriously. Yes, this is what 2020 deserves. And honestly, 2021, and I ain't such a fan of 2022 either. So, you know, this is burning all of this in effigy. But the goal here is to actually create a finished product and not just melt things online for fun. Though I do feel like that could be a Facebook, Instagram reel. Also, by the way, thank you all so much for to everyone who came and hung out with us for the podcast last night. I haven't gotten around to extracting the audio and actually publishing it as a podcast, so I'm going to try and do that tonight/tomorrow morning, possibly with some help from Corvus on the graphic design front. But thanks for hanging out with us and chilling with us and laughing with us as we're being stupid. Also, I will share really quickly all the things when I Google how to release a podcast. It's kind of like when it was the night before my best friend's wedding, and I was the maid of honor, and I'm Googling how to write a maid of honor speech, and every single freaking article was like, don't wait till the last minute. Make sure you start at least 4 to 6 weeks before so you have plenty of time to think about it. And, you know, collect anecdotes and this and that. And I'm like, okay, y'all, that ship has sailed. Like, it's done. Like, we are in panic mode here. Like, please stop telling me, this I stole from Carol. Please stop telling me what I should have done and just tell me what I should do now. I guess I probably should have Googled how to write a last minute maid of honor speech. And by the way, my speech killed it. Just saying. Like, it was fantastic. And I was going through old photos, and I actually found a really good photo of me after delivering, or whilst, I think this is while at the end of the speech, when I was calling for the toast. Okay, I hate when you're on your phone and you can't remember which way is scrolling towards more recent photos and which way is scrolling towards less recent photos. But yeah, she had a fantastic photographer, and so that's me delivering my speechifying. But yeah, so everything I'm pulling up about podcasts is like, well, you need to do your research and you need to get your messaging straight and you need to do this and this and this. You pick your platform. I'm like, okay, but again, that ship has sailed. Like, just tell me how to get the thing out there into the world. So we shall be working on that within the next couple of days. Okay, so let's do a soldering on a coin that has an actually really good chance of succeeding. So I'm going to take my soldered ring, and once again, it could be a jump ring. I'm going to butt that up against my coin. Yes, I said butt. Everyone get over it. I'm going to flux, and I'm going to grab a little piece of my solder. And I'm going to place that right on my joint. So, okay, so now we're going to see how this is actually supposed to work. So once again, the American penny I knew was going to fail. Like, that was purely for dramatic effect, which, by the way, yeah, its poor charred remains are now cooled down and are going to go in the trash. Sorry, Treasury Department. Please don't come after me. Okay, so now we're going to do exactly the same thing I did before, but this time, hopefully, it's going to work. So we're going to heat. I'm going to keep my tweezers in my hand just in case I need to poke or prod anything. I'm just going to heat the whole thing with my torch. And I need to get everything nice and hot. This is why the American penny doesn't work, because it won't take this kind of heat. And then once everything is pretty warm, I'm just going to concentrate on that joint until my solder flows. Okay, so what it did there is it flowed onto my jump ring, or my solder ring, which is great, but not incredibly helpful. So what needs to happen, there we go, is I need to get my solder to flow and connect actually to my coin. So what I'm actually going to have to do at this point is get another piece of solder, because what my solder did, since it's so much easier for this to get hot than this to get hot, is my solder just flowed up around that ring. So no big deal, just going to grab another little piece of solder. Also, if you do this with extra easy instead of easy, it is going to be extra easier to get your solder to flow. I used up all of the extra easy I had cut making next week's class sample, and I was too lazy to go get another piece of it, and I am paying for my laziness now. Erg, get out of there. Alright, so let's try this again. Focusing more heat on the coin. Because once again, solder flows towards heat, so if it's gonna flow towards the hottest thing. And so you gotta make that coin warm. No, come on. No, don't go that way. Go this way. Also, contact is a thing, so, you know, making sure that your solder has contact with your coin. There we go. Okay, see? Okay, did you see what just happened there? So, what happened was, so my solder was flowing up my jump ring, not onto my coin, and so what I did is actually had to shove my jump ring a little bit closer to my coin so that the solder itself had contact with the coin. So it's not just about, you know, the ring having contact with the coin, if the solder all runs away. So you've got to make sure the solder has contact with the coin. Alright, so at this point, it's done. It's soldered, it's a pendant. Yay! Okay, let's go ahead and try this yuan. See how that works. So back to, this is a cool thing to do with stuff that you have, you know, coins that you've brought back as souvenirs from trips and things. Okay, do not, for the love of God, don't do this on any coins that are rare or actually valuable. Because you could destroy them for starters, and soldering something onto them is going to immediately just completely annihilate whatever value they might have had. So don't do this with any coins that you would be very... Okay, don't do this with any coin where you would be very sad if it wound up like my poor penny in the trash can, okay? Like, this is the thing when soldering on coins, is like, you've got to accept that element of risk. You've got to be okay with the fact that it might just melt into oblivion and you've got nothing to show for it. So just make sure that that's in the back of your mind anytime you're soldering loops on coins. Now, that being said, this is a really nice, clean way of turning coins into a pendant. It's a little bit more professional looking than punching or drilling a hole in them. So it's definitely a good tool to have in your toolbox, but once again, you might destroy it. Not through any fault of your own, just through the fault of the fact that metals are much more expensive now than they used to be. Okay, so I've got my yuan, and I've got my ring, and I'm going to grab some solder. Okay, so we're going to see if I can do this one without having to add additional solder. And I am using pretty chunky pieces of solder here. Like, most metalsmiths would be like, that's like 5 joints worth of solder, but I find with the coins that it's so much easier to use more solder just because it has a tendency to run off in the wrong direction. Alright, so we're going to heat this. Again, I've got a tweezers just in case I need to poke something. Okay, so learning lessons from my last one, I am going to try and make sure that my coin is really, really hot before I focus on my joint so that I don't hopefully get my solder all running up the top of my jump ring. So again, I'm focusing my heat on the coin side, not the jump ring side. Oh, see, so much better. Did you see that? It's so freaking satisfying. It just did it. It just flowed and it joined that onto the coin, and that was beautiful. That was amazing. Okay, now the last coin of the night is going to be my Irish penny, my 1p coin. So we're going to see if Irish pennies, and this is a new one. This is a 1998 Irish penny. So, I mean, not new, because I know somebody's about to inform me that 1998 was over 20 years ago, but still, we're gonna see if this Irish 1p coin is actually copper, or if it is like unto the American 1-cent coins, has been adulterated with other metals. So again, I got my coin, I've got my ring. I'm going to flux. Actually, I kind of want to turn this. Okay, if this melts, then it's going to be very sad, but I'm going to turn this the other way so that you guys can hopefully get a really good view of the solder flowing, because it is just, again, it's the most satisfying thing. Alright, so there's that. So there's my Irish coin and my ring. I'm going to go ahead and dab some flux. I'm going to be soldering. And I actually have an extra piece of solder that I have cut, so I'm going to put that on my joint. Alright, there we go. Make sure they're touching. Make sure that's not cattywampus. There we go. Alright, so let's see. So again, I'm going to heat everything I want to make sure that coin's nice and warm. So this is where we are, you know, going to discover if this is actually copper or not. Alright, it's holding up so far. So we're going to focus up towards the top of the coin. And look at that. Look at that. It flowed. It connected. That's amazing. It's just so, again, so fantastic. So the verdict here is that Irish pennies are superior to American pennies in their metal content. So now let's talk about finishing these. Let's talk about, they're all too hot for me to touch, so that's okay. So what I'm going to do with all of these coins is I'm going to take them and I'm going to put them in my tumbler. So tumbler is a machine that either vibrates or rotates. It is typically filled with some sort of polishing medium. In my case, it's going to be stainless steel, shot, water, and soap. And it's going to tumble all of the gook and ish off of these coins, like especially this copper one. It's all full of black stuff. There's a little bit of my solder board stuck to that. And so I'm going to put those in there. They're going to tumble overnight, and tomorrow they're going to be nice and shiny. I can show you guys on Zoom. If you don't have a tumbler, what you would do at this point is you would take pickle. Pickle is a weak acid solution. Typically, it's sold as pickle. I like citric acid pickle. There are other pickles out there as well. So you will take a little bit of your pickle, a little bit of water, you mix it up, you put it in a heating device. The pickle is, and this is kind of universal across the board, pickle's going to work better when it's warm. So if you're just doing small projects, a potpourri crock works great. Like children of the 80s, you know what I'm talking about. If you're doing big projects, well, lots of projects, a crock pot is a great pickle pot as well. And once you've mixed your pickle, you can reuse it over and over again. So my pickle I keep in a crock pot, so when I need to use it, I'll plug it in, heat it up, use it for my cleaning, and then unplug it, cover it, set it aside till I need it again. If you're using pickle, you would take your coins that you soldered, you drop them in the pickle until all of the black stuff was gone, and you could see the native color of the metal of your coin, whether that be copper, brass, or silver tone. And then you would take some steel wool, like some quadruple zero, some very fine steel wool, and you could use that to buff your coin to a shine. Now, once again, I'm going to take mine, I'm going to throw them in my tumbler. They're going to tumble overnight, and the tumbler is going to do all that for me. So if you don't do a lot of fabrication, there's really no point in investing in a tumbler. But if you do a decent amount of fabrication, the amount of time it saves you on finishing is just insane. Because I mean, it's still gonna take 12 hours to finish my pieces, but that's 12 hours of inactive work on my part. Like, I just throw them in there, let them go. So there's nothing I have to do during that time, and that works really well for me because there are a lot of other things that require active working that I can do while things are tumbling. So, once again, there's lots of, and then you can also tread the middle ground of getting a Dremel or a flex shaft, pickling your pieces, and then polishing them with a rotary tool and a buffing wheel. So, all cool things that you can do with your soldered coins. So that is it. That was our tutorial for tonight. It's a really easy one. Next week is not going to be quite so easy. Next week I am doing what I'm calling the Add a Stone necklace, which is basically it's basic bezel settings, but it's a necklace that you can add onto, because I've for years I have wanted a full 16 to 18 inch necklace that was all bezel set, different stones, and that's a lot of work, first of all. Second of all, that's a lot of metal. It's a lot of silver to invest in at once. So what I kind of settled on is I made 5 links, and then I'm going to do 2 more in class next week, and then I can just keep adding to that. Like, every time I get a little bit of extra money for some extra silver, I get a little bit of extra time, I can make a new link and I can add it onto the necklace that I've already created. So that's going to be next week. It's going to be a little more complicated than this week. But I just want to say that's it for Torch Thursday. Thank you all so much for hanging out with us on the Beading Dreams stream. I will get that podcast released ASAP, and I will post that in Discord. Tomorrow night is Zoom, Crafty Cocktail time. If you have not Zoomed with us before, you can email us beadingdreamsdallas@gmail.com to get those Zoom credentials. Otherwise, Heather will send those out tomorrow. She was out of the store today, so we'll send the Zoom credentials out to everyone on the list tomorrow, and we will be Zooming from 6 to 8 p.m. And of course, don't forget, if you haven't joined our Discord, please do, because that is the place to stay updated on all the things that are happening on the Beading Dreams stream. So everybody, oh, Corvus, that's the wrong time. That it should be 6 p.m. CST. 4 p.m. is your time. So yeah, alright, so that's it. Everyone have a great night, and I will see you all tomorrow on Zoom. And then Saturday night, no tutorial, just a sale, new merchandise at 6:30 p.m. Okay? So, everyone have a great night. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye!